Hey everybody, and welcome to Bits of Board, where we're talking board games, miniatures, cards and dice. My name's Michael, and today we continue on our journey through Kingdom Death Monsters campaign. We are into Lantern Year 28. Oh my god, we're so close. And we are gonna go take on the level 3 Kingsman. Now this should be a tough fight, but I have made a little decision on last week. We are going to forge the perfect slayer before we go anywhere. Reasonings to follow, but let's just get stuck straight in. Alright guys and gals, we are going all in here today. Heading over to the blacksmith before taking on our level 3 Kingsman, and we're going to forge the perfect slayer. Oh my god. So this thing requires the perfect crucible. Now this is an extremely rare, strange resource that we picked up in one of 100 rolls on that random hunt event. But this is absolutely required to forge this weapon. Next up, we need 9 iron, 11 of which we have in settlement storage. So we are going to cash in the vast majority of those. Finally, we have 3 organs to throw in there, and I'm thinking we're going to cash in these. The muscly gums, the bladder, and the screaming brain, all from a screaming antelope. A lot of resources, but the cost is going to be so much greater. Here, when you craft with the perfect crucible, an ancient bacteria is released into the air and we suffer 1d10 population loss, and we archive the card. That means we could potentially lose up to 10 of our survivors here. Believe me, I've thought about this and thought hard. My reasoning is we're going up against one of the toughest enemies in the game right now, and we could potentially wipe, losing us 4 of our hard-earned survivors. Next year, I want to take on the Phoenix, and we were so close to not making it through that last one. Again, we could lose, I'd say 2 to 4, and that is up to 8 loss, which means, well, with our total of 13 survivors right now, we've got 12 that can head out, 1 who is series and retired at the moment, and we could lose up to 8 of them, leaving 5 for our final encounter, which is fine. But where is the glory in that, right? I would happily roll this dice and know that with this weapon we could potentially beat the Kingsman coming up. We could potentially beat another Phoenix without fear of, Anyway, so that's why we're rolling for the perfect crucible right now. 1d10 population loss. No big numbers. Please, please, please. You ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. 3. Oh, guys, this could potentially be, that's amazing. That is amazing right there. We melt our iron. We do whatever it is we do with those organs, and we pour into the perfect crucible, and it steams up and fire burns and all that crazy stuff, and the bacteria blows out all through our settlement, and we lose. Survivor number 30. You're the first to go. You were unnamed and unknown Ender, our newest Twilight Knight in training, son of Orin, descendant of Bastion, one of the first. You were a new survivor, and you played a big part in some of our more recent encounters, but you've fallen to this ancient death. Finally, Ceres, the lord and ruler of our settlement. You have Combo Master, Tumble, Timeless Eye. You're inflicted with the prey, traumatized, and quixotic disorders. You have the Marrow Hunger impairment, which means you are a murderer of our people. There is no way that you would let yourself succumb to this. You search for someone weaker, someone with less to give. And survivor number 29. the participant of our final triathlon of death, who was courageous in the race contest, who was pathetic in the debate. Ceres finds you and leads you to your death. You were unnamed until now. Fast, courageous, and dumb. But there's always someone faster. And that's why your name is Wiley. Just a mini tribute to the Looney Tunes in there. All right, that's our 3 survivors gone. And with that, we lose the perfect crucible. We cash in our organs and our iron. And we gain the perfect crucible. This is a weapon, doi. A melee grand weapon, 2-handed. It's a sword. It's heavy. It's a finesse weapon, and it's made of metal. This thing has 3 speed, hits on a 6+, and has a whopping 14 strength behind it. It is slow, which means we don't unlock the full powers of the Slayer until we're frenzied. We're only going to be rolling 1 dice for this bad boy. It has sharp, which means it adds 1d10 to its already humongous strength. It has devastating 2. It's irreplaceable. And to its wielder, it reduces movement by 2 points. This is an incredible weapon, and I'm hoping it will carry us to some sort of victory over the next 3 Lantern years. We need this. So we farewell survivor number 30. Wiley, survivor number 29, and Ender, the last of his line. And we send our departing survivors to pack up their things. It's time for the level 3 King's Man. Alrighty, first survivor out, we have Null. Now, just a quick amendment, he was in the Triathlon of Death, and for whatever reason, I got his dice mixed up with survivor number 29, Wiley, and I accidentally gave a dismembered arm to Wiley when it should have gone to Null. So here's Null with his dismembered arm, and he's back ready to fight. Now this impairment only prevents him from using any 2-handed weapons. As you can see, no 2-handed weapons to be seen. He's rocking that adventure sword and steel shield all on 1 arm. What a champion. Now he's got the full set of screaming armor, which grants him +2 armor at all hit locations. It also gives him the skewer ability, which complements his slam, which we may or may not use today. He's got the lead of fighting art. Whenever you encourage a survivor, they gain +1 speed token until the end of the round. Very nice. And once per hunt phase, you may inspire another survivor. They use your understanding and courage to resolve a hunt or story event. For example, if you have 3 or more courage, you can inspire another survivor to walk the path of the brave during overwhelming darkness. It's an interesting one. We may not use heaps of that, but that encourage ability is certainly very powerful. Now he's also got the Timeless Eye fighting art. Your attack roll is considered a perfect hit on a result of a 9 or a 10. You cannot use the Timeless Eye. Oh, of course. Null is blinded from his See the Truth story event, so he can't use this one, which is a little bit of a shame. That's okay. Neither of those were important. This is what we're all here for. The Zero Presence fighting art. Gain +1 strength when attacking a monster from its blind spot, which is cool, but the kicker, of course, whenever you attack a monster, you are always considered to be in its blind spot. Now, of course, to help me remember, I'm going to place a +1 strength and +1 accuracy token on the card. Just got to remember not to give him any additional accuracy from blind spot attacks. Now, let's go through his gear. Of course, he's got the Screaming Armor set. That stuff's all awesome. We have the final lantern here, which means on arrival, he's going to be starting with the Death Dice. This is going to unlock some very cool abilities that will be showing off probably just one of them, but if we need the other, we'll go there too. Now, he's also got the Screaming Leg Warmers here, which will give him +3 Insanity on arrival. The coats, where that slam ability lies. The Screaming Braces, will allow him to put down some fresh Arcanthus on the battlefield, but here is where it gets fun. We've got the blood paint down the middle here, which allows him, when he spends his action, to activate weapons to the left and to the right of the blood paint, which means he can attack with both the Adventure Sword and the Steel Shield every attack. Now, the Adventure Sword is wickedly powerful for Null here. It's 3 speed and hits on a 6+, a 5+ if we're including his accuracy there. But that's strength. It's not a 0. Your courage is added to the weapon's strength, and Null has 9 courage. This is a 9 strength weapon with 3 speed. Wow, it is awesome. Now, to the right of the blood paint, we've got the Steel Shield, which drops his movement down by 3 points, but it gives him this amazing ability. Spend an activation or 1 survival to ignore a hit. Now, I want you to note that this is not a survival action. This is spend willy-nilly, which means if you have the survival, you can knock out and ignore a number of hits at any point. So powerful. And let's be real, it's pretty rubbish other than that ability, so that's why it is so dang good. Now, we've just got a couple of other things floating around, which I will make mention of. Firstly, his disorders. We have the weak spot disorder for the waist location, which means we cannot go out into a showdown without armor covering the waist. We are checked there. Here we have seizures. During the showdown, whenever you suffer damage to your head location, you are knocked down. It's a shame, but we'll deal with it. And then we have a Rageaholic. Whenever you suffer a severe injury, you also suffer the Frenzy Brain Trauma, which is going to unlock some pretty wicked potential if it actually happens. All right, onto the specializations, and there are a few here. First up, we have the shield specialization. While a shield is in your gear grid, you are no longer knocked down after collision with a monster. That's pretty cool. And also, while a shield is in your gear grid, add a +1 to all hit locations. Now, the reason I've brought Null along today is because he's 1 point away from Mastery. And I'm not too fussed about what this Mastery is. We'll cross that when we come to it. But if we can hit Mastery here, this specialization goes out to all of our survivors. Amazing. Now, we've also unlocked the Fist and Tooth weapon specialization. This is from Eva's Mastery, who may she rest in peace, as always. You may stand if knocked down at the start of the monster's turn or the survivor's turn. So we get a bit of choice when we want to get our survivors to stand up. Finally, one of our other survivors who will be joining us shortly has unlocked the Sword Mastery, which grants the sword specialty to all of our other survivors. When attacking with a sword, after drawing hit locations, make a wound attempt and then select a hit location to resolve with that result. It's a pretty interesting one, and it's an ability we've not yet used in its proper form yet, so I'm hoping we get to see that in action today. But yeah, all in all, Null is geared for a big fight here. All right, next up we have Lucky, and this, ladies and gentlemen, will be his final fight. He is a veteran of the King's Man's encounter, and you can tell by the armor that he wears on his body. This stuff has grown from his bone and flesh and now protects him, and he is one hunt away from becoming a King's Man himself, abandoning the settlement to pursue whatever it is that King's men do out there. That's not to say he's not here for a massive fight, and he has some pretty cool abilities floating around. First off, we've got the Orator of Death fighting art. Once per showdown, you may spend your activation to have all non-deaf survivors gain +2 insanity. Who knows, we may just need it. If and when he dies, he will encourage all survivors with his final words too. So it may revert a full wipe, who knows. He's also got the cross-arm block fighting art, which gives him the ability, whenever you are hit, after hit locations are rolled, you may change one result to the arm's hit location. Just gives him a little bit of extra survivability. It can take a hit away from the head, for example. Pretty nice. Once again, never really used it to its full effect, but that's all right. This one, though, is why he's here today. Besides the whole armor thing, the King's Step fighting art. Now, he's gained this in I think it must have been our first King's Man encounter, and this is such a powerful ability in this fight. Whenever you attack, you may discard any number of battle pressure hit locations drawn and draw an equal number of new hit locations. You wait and see how powerful that is. This negates a lot of the King's Man's defenses straight up. Also, whenever you attack after drawing hit locations but before rolling to wound, you may choose one hit location drawn and discard it to draw a new one. So powerful. Wow. Traps unfortunately will cancel the effects on this King's Step card, but that is just fine. Now we'll quickly look at his gear stuff here. We've got that brand new oxidized lantern glaive, and this thing is going to be super powerful with him today. Lucky is just 1 point away from gaining his spear mastery. So he has the spear weapon proficiency, which is granted by the spear keyword that we have floating around on the glaive here. Whenever attacking with a spear, if you draw a trap, roll 1d10 and on a 7+ cancel the trap. Discard it, then shuffle the hit location discard into the hit location deck and draw a new card, comboing super nicely with that King's Step fighting art there. Now that is not all for this particular weapon here. As you can see, it's got the axe keyword there as well, which gives him the axe specialization ability, because it must be Dis has unlocked the weapon mastery for the axe. So he gives this ability to everyone else, and because we're using an axe today, when attacking with this weapon, if your wound attempt fails, you may ignore it and attempt to wound the selected hit location again. This is a free reroll. For one miss we occur every round. Oh, so good. Now I've got the Regal Helm, Regal Placard, Folds and Greaves there. They are King's Man armor locations, and unfortunately there's no gear card for that one there. So we just float on through. He's carrying the first aid kit here, which grants all survivors on arrival +3 survival, and it gives them the ability to remove bleeding tokens or negative attribute tokens from yourself or adjacent survivors. So it's a little bit of survivability there. We get a couple of survival on departing over here. We're carrying a round leather shield to boost up our armor and to give us the block ability should we need it. And yeah, that is about it. The last thing for him though is that he has the enfeebled disorder here, which means it takes 1 less bleeding token to kill you. 4 bleeding tokens and he's a goner. All the more reason to be carrying the first aid kit there. Next up we have Freya, and usually I wouldn't bring her along to such, end game encounters. She was pretty close to losing her life in that the pestilence kind of rollback before for the Perfect Slayer, whatever that was. But she's here today for one reason only, and that is her King's Step secret fighting art. We have another survivor out here that can negate the King's Man's defenses. So powerful. Now she's also got the Tumble fighting art, which gives her a 50-50 chance of ignoring collision. Very nice. And the Extra Sense fighting art, which means she may dodge 1 additional time per round. Very powerful, good survivability there, especially when you combine it with her gear grid. That lantern armor set, so powerful, granting more than 5 armor at each location. You'll see in a sec. She feels invincible and on arrival will gain survival up to the survival limit. And then the extra weight is great leverage from her armor. All clubs in your gear grid gain sharp, and wouldn't you believe she's brought with her the skullcap hammer today. Now usually she is a sword user through and through, but since reaching mastery she's decided to branch out, and this is where it all comes into play. The skullcap hammer, on a perfect hit the monster will be dazed and gains a -1 speed token until the end of its turn. This weapon alone is a wonderful incentive to surge during the monster's activation and to hit him early, because that speed token will last until the end of the survivor's action. Down here we've got the Monster Tooth Necklace, which grants 1 strength, but because we have 2 red affinities on the board, we gain another 1 too, just building up the power of that kind of measly skullcap hammer. Now let me just show you why the lantern armor is so good. Down here we have +2 movement, which is wonderful, but unfortunately we lose out because of this -2 movement here. So they kind of look after each other here. But this piece of armor here, with our connected blue and green affinities, when you depart we add 3 armor to all hit locations with a metal armor keyword, and that is all of our armor locations, guys. We'll be up to 9 and 8 armor everywhere else. Over here with the lantern gauntlets, we gain +2 accuracy with club weapons. That takes her from a 7+ to a 5+. Perfect. And then finally, our oxidized lantern helm. Not only does it come with +1 armor at the location, but it completes the outfit and it gives her the ability to remain deaf on choice. If you are not deaf, you may ignore effects that target non-deaf survivors. This is so good because we can choose when and where it comes into effect. So good. All right. That is Freya. Now, oh yeah, you might have noticed this blank spot in the gear grid. It's not because I forgot to give her something, it's because she still carries around with her beloved rock from some random hunt event. This thing has been the bane of my existence in Kingdom Death, this woman. Seriously, she's so good until that happened and she just loses a piece of gear. But that's okay. Today, we just need her to land a hit on the King's Man and stay in control of those battle pressure cards. Lastly, and by no means leastly, we have Lex. She's rocking the full set of Phoenix armor, which grants her +1 armor to all hit locations, as well as the charge ability, which gives her a little bit more strength with her attacks in some circumstances. Now, she's also got the unconscious fighter fighting art, which means it takes 7 bleeding tokens to kill her. I don't know if the bleeding is a massive deal with the King's Man fight, but it is very nice to have it on her nonetheless. All right, into the big stuff here. So we've got the Phoenix gear and there's not much going on. We gain +2 movement if she's insane, and with 9 points of insanity, she is pretty insane there. So let's go ahead and temporarily give her 2 movement points. She gains +2 insanity thanks to her folds and gauntlets, and look, that's almost it. Over here, we've got the Dried Arcanthus, which is going to give her a little bit of survivability. Should she receive a severe injury, we may discard that Dried Arcanthus to ignore it. And I'd really like to keep her alive because she has the perfect Slayer. You saw how much of a big deal this weapon is going to be to our settlement. A grand weapon, a sword, so very powerful. This may well be the key to our survival this round. Now, it does come with that -2 movement, so we're going to go ahead and ditch those 2 +1 movement tokens there, balancing each other out very nicely. Now, I made mention before about the Perfect Slayer's speed and its slow attribute. While it has 3 points of speed, for any normal attack, we're only going to be rolling 1 dice, thanks to that slow keyword. Unless, of course, we can frenzy ourselves. See the frenzy drink over here. Should we need it, we can spend an activation to suffer the frenzy brain trauma, which is going to give us +1 speed token, and we will ignore the slow keyword on any melee weapons. Lex is going to become guts incarnate. Check out Berserk if you haven't. Now, to add to her power today, she of course has unlocked the Grand Weapon specialization. When attacking with a Grand Weapon, gain +1 accuracy. And then, when attacking with a Grand Weapon during your attack, if you critically wound the monster, it becomes knocked down. This brings us from a 6+ to a 5+, and then if we can get into the blind spot, whoa. The final bit, of course, is that sword specialization, which we'll only really use should we go into our frenzy mode, but I'm hoping to see it in action today. Man, this is going to be an epic encounter. I hope it goes the way we want it to. You ready? Let's head straight into the showdown. Alright, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have the level 3 King's Man up there. Now, as you can see, we've got the dead monster corpse lying around in front there. We also drew the ore vein. We just set that up in the distance. Don't know if we're going to get around to it, but they are there if we want them, I guess. Now, as usual, the King's Man has his little protective barrier there with the pillars. They are basically protecting him from any blind spot attacks in this first round. So I think we kind of want to lure him out of there pretty quickly. Now, we've also got a couple of Arcanthus plants floating around thanks to our Screaming Braces. They allow us to place 1 terrain card's worth of Arcanthus down, as long as we have access to them, I guess. So, now the King's Man, he's pretty much the same as the level 2 King's Man. He's just a little tougher as far as his stats. So as always, he's got the weak spot trait, which gives him -4 toughness when attacking from the weak spot location. We also have the King's Combat card here. At the start of each monster's turn, perform a basic action, then draw an AI card as normal. Next, we have the King's Aura, which used to be the bane of my existence, but we have some decent characters that can mitigate this. At the start of the monster's turn, and whenever the hit location deck is shuffled, place the 3 battle pressure hit location cards on top of the hit location deck. Now, those cards are these guys here. The hit is cancelled. If the survivor is adjacent to the monster, they make King's Step. Now, the King's Step is a little story event that occurs. Players can sort of play a slight game of chance if they choose to take on the story event, and possibly gain a really powerful secret fighting art. Thankfully, we don't have to really worry about that because 2 of our survivors, Lucky and Freya, both have this trait. So I think we're going to be utilizing that one. Now, what else have I got on for you guys? Oh yeah, the King's Man has outfighting here, which gives him reach 2, and pretty much it rules him anytime he attacks. He wants to attack from that space away. So if he's close enough, he'll move away, he'll attack from diagonals, he'll do whatever he's got to do. Now, all those cards are basic level 1 King's Man stuff. I know, right? Unbelievable. At level 2, the King's Man gained the Silent Hymn trait, and this passes all the way through to the level 3. A strange hymn that cannot be heard, only felt. At the start of the survivor's turn, all survivors gain a -1 movement token. Whenever a survivor's movement is reduced to 0, they suffer a random brain trauma, and then we remove all tokens that the survivor gained from Silent Hymn, and then at any time a survivor may spend all their survival, at least 1 point, to move all tokens gained from Silent Hymn. Now we have one little trait that kind of helps to protect us against the effects of that thing, and that is our Accept Darkness principle, which means we add +2 to any brain trauma rolls. Basically, that means no sudden deaths, from what I understand. Yeah. Now that's about it for the King's Man. His stats are where it gets a little bit scary. We have the +2 to his speed, which means he's going to be rolling more dice to attack us. We have the +1 damage tokens here, 2 of those, which means he's going to be hitting harder. And thirdly, we have +1 accuracy tokens, 2 of them, which means he's going to be hitting more and more often. His aim is so deadly. All right. Now I'm thinking we'll move this guy Null over here next to Lucky, and I think we're ready to go. So survivors will have the opportunity to activate first, and I'm thinking we're going to start straight off with Lucky. He is good to us, and I think he's got what we need here. We're going to begin by surging, and we're going to spend that surge activating the first aid kit. With this thing, we're allowed to remove any -1 tokens that we've gained throughout the hunt or the showdown, stuff like that. And I'm going to go ahead and use it here on Null, removing one of his -1 movement tokens. Yes, that's right. At the very beginning of this Survivor's Showdown, everybody gained one of these damn -1 movement tokens. And so Lucky is going to ditch one of Null's. Next, we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lucky has 7 total movement, and that -1 movement token kind of stretches him out a little bit. But we get to attack here with the Oxidized Lantern Glaive. Now, this is going to be 2 dice, and it looks like we're going to be hitting on 4s here. Very good. 5+, but 4+, thanks to Lucky's accuracy. So we're going to roll, hope for the best. A 9 and an 8. 2 massive hits there, which means we chew through those battle pressure cards. Gone, gone, and gone. And we draw the Regal Knees and the Regal Gauntlet. Now, the Regal Knees, they're our first strike location. Now, this is an interesting one. If the attacker is wearing any heavy gear, they suddenly feel their knees buckle and are knocked down. We return any discarded battle pressure cards to the top of the hit location deck. Now, I have to double check with the internet here, but wearing heavy gear refers to armor, and I believe this is something that was clarified in the People of the Sun campaign. Give me 2 seconds, I will be right back. Alright, so the reason I'm being so pedantic about this one is Lucky actually has a heavy item in his gear grid, and that is the first aid kit. And it was drawn to my attention in the People of the Sun campaign at the Sun location. We have the extreme heat thing here. Survivors cannot wear heavy gear. Anyway, with that on BGG and that massive unofficial Kingdom Death Monster errata clarifications thread, this thing here, I don't know if this is going to work with my phone, we have the clarification that the heavy keyword restriction on equipable gear only applies to armor. You can still use weapons with the heavy keyword. So I'm going to bring that across to here. I'm assuming expansion content works in the 1.5 stuff. So here, for the Regal Knees, the attacker is not wearing any heavy gear despite the first aid kit. So we're going to go ahead and start rolling for these locations here. Now those battle pressure cards would float on back to the hit location deck, which is kind of annoying since we can't surge again, but we're going to go ahead and roll for wounds anyway. So we have the sharp keyword on the oxidized lantern glaive right here. So let's get attacking. Starting with this one, we add +8 strength, which brings us up to 14. Wow, 20. That means we're going to be wounding on a 2+ here. Yeah. Hit with that 7. No criticals, but we do get the wound. We discard our first AI card. We move to the next one here, adding more strength. 7 strength this time will bring us to 19, if I remember correctly. Still going to be 2+. Yes. Ooh, that's pretty good. Now we have a wound reflex here, so we'll firstly discard that AI card, get that out of there, and then this thing. The attacker gains +1 survival, awesome, and the Kingsman staggers, gaining -2 toughness until the end of the next turn. Cool. Well, we, I believe, are gonna kind of get out of here now. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right on back. All right, next up we're going to activate, well, I would have liked to have activated Null, but with those battle pressure cards back on the deck, might not be a good call. Let's get Freya in there. Now she's only got 4 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. She's not going to be able to get into any sort of range here. That sucks. What we might do is we might go ahead and harvest that Arcanthus if we can't attack. So we'll roll. And with a 5, she'll gain a survival, but I believe she was already at the top of the survival chart there, so no effect. Let's move Lex up just a little bit. We might go 1, 2, 3, like that there. In fact, 4, how many movement has she got? 4. Yeah, that's about as far as she can get, but that's all right. It's pretty good for us. Lastly, we are going to activate with Null, getting close to that Arcanthus, and roll. Yeah, big numbers, and that means we do get to harvest the fresh Arcanthus, which just may save our life this showdown. We can archive this at any time to fully heal 1 hit location, including armor points, so that is really nice. Now he's got the death dice, doesn't he? So we've already moved, we've already attacked, but we may as well attempt to do a little something with the death dice. So the level 2 ability that we've unlocked here is we can add 1d10 movement to a move action. I'm going to roll this death dice, and if we roll high enough, I'm going to commit it to the move, and we're going to head on over and try and hit the King's Man just once. 7, perfect for us. So 7 plus 4, we have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're not going to be able to get around anywhere, but we are going to sneak in to that side spot there. Let's head on up. All right, next we're going to spend 1 point of survival and we're going to surge, activating the blood paint. This is going to allow us to attack with both the adventure sword and the steel shield. And I'm going to start off with the adventure sword. It's going to be 3 dice, 4 plus. Yes, 3 big hits here. And you know what's cool about that? We may discard all 3 battle pressure cards on top of the deck there, all gone. Each one of those hits is cancelled on. We don't get a chance, well, unless we wanted to make the king's step, which I would prefer not to. But it does leave us open to attack with the steel shield. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 dice, 4 plus. 7 makes the hit. Where are we headed? The Regal Greaves. Now this has a reflex on it, which is going to move the King's Man out of the way, but not before we get a chance to try and wound here. Total of 12 strength behind us. And with those -2 toughness tokens, we're going to need 4 plus. Not bad. Yeah, we sneak in there with a 5 plus. That was a 5, sorry. And we'll discard an AI card and then turn to face the attacker, and without turning, move the monster 2 spaces directly away from the attacker. 1 and 2, right out of there. Now we'll get rid of those toughness tokens because that is the end of the survivor's activation. We hit the beginning of the King's Man's act and we add those battle pressure cards back to the top of the hit location deck. We begin with King's Combat, allowing the King's Man to activate with his basic action. He's going to move 1 space closer and he's going to swing his lantern halberd, I assume is what he's carrying. It's going to be 5 dice. Oh, hitting on anything except for a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits there from the King's Man. Brutal. We roll those hit location dice and see what we've got. Ooh, a lot of heads and a lot of arms locations there. Yikes. Well, this is where that steel shield comes into play. This thing is amazing. As you can see here, we have a strange activation. Spend an action or a 1 survival to ignore a hit. Now this is not a survival action. This can be done multiple times every round. So I'm going to go ahead and use it 3 times, discarding 3 points of survival to dodge out on those. Gonskis. With those 2 remaining hits though, we suffer 5 damage to each location, head and arms. Alright, see that's why we bring the steel shield, otherwise it's just not that good. That movement debuff is just terrible. Finally, with the basic action, we resolve the after damage effects. Bash and knockback 5 in the direction of the arrows, which is straight down this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and knocked down. Ouch. We draw his AI card and we get the spinning halberd. When spinning halberd comes into play, we draw an AI card. Damn it. And then the King's Man deflects all incoming ranged attacks with its lantern halberd. The monster ignores hits and effects from ranged gear. That's actually not bad for us considering, well, I don't think we came in with any ranged gear. All right. Cool, so we draw his next AI card and we have Perfect Thrust. Wow, this must be one of his epic hits. Whoa, the King's Man grabs the hilt of his sheathed sword. All survivors are doomed. Pick a target in the perfect position and place a monster adjacent to the target. They suffer 3 severe injuries to a random hit location. Oh. If there are no targets in the perfect position, nothing happens. That's really good. Okay, so judging by the looks of things, the perfect position would be here, behind in the blind spot, or over here. Guys and gals, we luck out a little bit there. Nothing happens. So we have our survivors stand back up for their activation, and each of our survivors gains a -1 movement point. Right, now the death dice is currently sitting with Lucky over here, so we might activate him first. He has 5 movement points available to him, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, we could move him behind the King's Man slightly, not quite the blind spot, but enough to sort of get him moving back to the bulk of our characters. It will cost us 1 point of survival, but I think it's worthwhile today. So we move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to attack with the Oxidized Lantern Glaive. 2 dice, 4+. And 2 hits. We carve through those battle pressure cards as usual. Good work, Lucky, and we draw our hit locations. We get the Halberd Spear. It's another one of those heavy locations. And the Acid Blood Discharge. This is the King's Man's trap ability. Gouts of acid spew from the cracks in the monster's armor. The attacker is doomed, and all survivors within 2 spaces of the monster suffer damage to a random hit location equal to the number of wounds in the wound stack. Currently, that is 3 for us. However, any survivors with a shield may elect to protect themselves and ignore this trap. Lucky, you have the round leather shield. But before we give in to the effects of the trap, let's go ahead and utilize the spear weapon specialization power. Lucky has plenty of points in the spear, so it gives him access to this trap ability. If you draw a trap, roll 1d10, and on a 7+, cancel the trap. So let's give that a shot. No good. We get the 1 there, which means it is unsuccessful, and so we're just going to have to use our shield to protect ourselves. We'll shuffle up that hit location deck. We add those battle pressure cards back to the top. I think we'd better surge to attack again. Drops us down to 6 survival, and we get 2 dice, hitting on that 4+ again. 5 and a 3, so just 1 hit there, but it's enough to remove those battle pressure cards. Our actual hit is going to be the Regal Back. If you hit with a dagger, gain +3 strength. There'll be none of that today, and we get to hopefully make a wound here. We'll add strength thanks to our sharp. Whoa, lucky number 10. That's got to be a 2+, right? Yeah, wounding on a 2+. Yes, just cool. So we make that one, we discard an AI card, and then we resolve this wound reflex. If the attacker has 3 or more understanding or the King's Step, which we do, the subtle pattern of the monster's evasive steps are laid out in the open. The attacker is on the verge of learning something big and may spend 5 survival to gain 1 point of permanent evasion. Tell you what, guys, I'm not going to do it. We may well need every single point of survival we have today. And the fact that this is Lucky's last battle, well, I don't think we need to invest too hard in him, right? Not anymore. All right, let's draw a little closer with some of our other survivors. We have Lex over here. She's currently got 3 movement points. So we'll go 1, 2, and 3 like that. I might just keep out of range just a little bit more there. Freya down the bottom, she's done very little. Did we not move her last activation? Jeez, that's terrible. All right, well, let's move her in. We've got 3 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, boom, like that. And we end the survivor's activation right there. We go ahead, we move into the King's Man's attack, and we add those battle pressure cards back to the deck. He begins with the basic action, targeting any survivors in his blind spot. Currently no one there, so we have the closest threat, which is going to be Lucky. Now he's going to turn right on around here and step back and across, I believe, to make this attack. He's going to be targeting everywhere in front of him, making the hits on Lucky. We've got 5 dice here, hitting on 3+. Wow, all 5 of them. Crap. Let's roll those hit location dice. Let's hope for a good spread, and that's pretty decent. I've only got 1 double up there, so we are going to cop 5 damage to the arms, the head, the waist, and the legs, and we're going to go ahead and dodge this one here. And then for an after damage effect, he's going to suffer knockback 5 and bash in the direction of the arrows, so up that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Just missing those stone columns there. Cool. All right, so we draw his next AI card, and we get the King's Axe. Now this attacks the closest threat in field of view and in range, which is going to be Null here. Now he's actually in range, but I think he moves forward just 1, so he's attacking corner to corner. Either way, he's going to be hitting pretty hard here. We'll begin with survivors in this location here, swinging around. It will miss Lex, thank goodness. This is going to be 5 dice, 2+. All right, well, we missed one of those. That's pretty cool. 4 hit location dice. Where are we going? All right, legs, chest, and waist. I'll tell you what, that's actually pretty good for us. We're going to dodge that legs hit there. Now, he's only got 2 points of survival left, so we're actually going to cop each and every one of these. Waist, legs, and chest. 5 damage apiece. That leaves us with just 1 armor left at the waist location, but everywhere else, gone. Next, we resolve the after damage effect, and we get knockback 5 in the direction indicated by the arrows. So I suppose we're going to go around in a circle here. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a couple of arrows floating around that will change the direction that we're going. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bashed, knocked down there. Well done, Kingsman. That is a brutal attack. All right, we'll have all of our survivors stand back up at the beginning of their activation. Now we've got some difficult decisions to make. Firstly, all of our survivors gain a -1 movement token. And that brings Freya down to just 2 points of movement. Now, I would certainly like to activate her first because it looks like she's in the best position to remove those battle pressure cards. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll spend our first 2 movement there and then spend a survival to get in close. Now, she's attacking with the Skullcap Hammer, which is going to be 2 dice, 5+, but she is also in possession of the Death Dice. So we're going to be rolling 3 here. Sorry, 4+, even better. 1, 2 hits there, so that 2 fails. We carve through those battle pressure cards, and we gain 2 actual hits. First being the Regal Helm, and the second being the Regal Gut Plate. Let's go ahead and do that Regal Helm first. So our base strength is only, 10? But our club has sharp thanks to the Lantern Armor, so we're going to be rolling a D10 extra strength. Just 3 points, but it might help out. Just going to need 5+ here. Boom! Massive hit. Unfortunately, no critical wounds there. We do get the wound reflex though, and she gains her survival back. The Kingsman then staggers and gains -2 toughness until the end of the next monster turn. Good job. All right, next we have the Regal Gut Plate. We'll roll for our added strength, just 3 points again. Brings it up to 13, but we also have these -2 toughness. We're only gonna need 3s or more. An 8 is very good. So we get that one, we'll discard the AI card, and then we get the reflex here. Turn to face the attacker, then without turning, move the monster 2 spaces directly away. If the attacker has King's Step, they may follow the King's Man and move 2 spaces forward, otherwise cancel all hits now out of range. Whew, well let's start by moving back. 1, 2, we could move in and surge, attacking again. Let's save it for the time being. This is good though. Next up, we'll attack with Null. Now he only has 2 points of movement, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's gonna also dash to get right in there. Actually, you know what? 1, 2, 1, 2. We're not going to do that because I want to land hits with Lex here. She's gonna do the most damage with the perfect slayer, and I also really want to see this in action. So with her 1, 2 movement, boom, she's gonna land right into the blind spot there. Let's dive in and check this out close up. This is what it's all about here, guys. We're going to attack with that perfect slayer. It's only going to be 1 dice, but 4 plus 7, and we make it perfect. We get our hit location. It's the Regal Sabatons. This has a wound reflex here, but you know what? I don't even care. This weapon is so good. 14 base strength plus Lex's 6 strength, 20. We will wound here on a 2 plus. It's almost a sure thing. Yeah, we make it in there. We'll discard our wounds in a sec. The attacker gains 1 survival, and the Kingsman staggers, gaining a -2 to toughness again. Now the Perfect Slayer has devastating 2, which means we not only discard 1 AI card for the wound, but we get 2 more. Yes! Let's surge and do this again while we still have survival to play with. 1 dice, 4 plus. Yes! Perfect hit. I don't think it does anything for us, but we get the hit location. And it's the Regal Knees, a first strike location. This is one of those heavy armor locations, and if we had any, we would be knocked down, but because we're in the Phoenix gear, we are happy. We return any discarded battle pressure cards back to the top of the deck. That's going to be a shame, but we now roll for the wound. I forgot this thing even has sharp. It's not like we need it. We just with its base strength and our natural strength, we're going to be wounding here on 2 plus. 5, good enough for me, and that is another 3 cards out of the AI deck. And with that, we're going to dash to get Lex out of there just a little bit. We're going to move straight back 1 and 2, and hopefully we're able to choose the target of his next attack. The Kingsman activates first with his basic action card. Goes for the survivor in the blind spot. There's no one there because we were smart enough to get the hell out. He's next going to target the closest threat, which is going to be Freya. So he moves 1 space closer, maintaining his reach 2 from the outfighting, and attacks. 5 dice. What sort of evasion has Freya got? Just the 1. This is going to be 5 dice, 2 plus, guys and gals. Oh, so many 2s in there. Unfortunately, they're all hits, all 5. Let's find out where. Whew. All right, only 1 set of doubles there. That's 2 to the chest. We're gonna go ahead and dodge one of those, and we'll take 5 damage to each of those other locations. But with Freya's incredible lantern armor, this does not much more than dent it, leaving her with 4 armor at the head location and 3 at all the rest. Next, we draw the Kingsman's AI card. He's not letting us off that easy, and we have Hook and Pull. This is going to be the furthest threat in field of view and in range. Well, guys and gals, that could either be Freya back here or Null. Ooh, let's zoom out a bit, get into a slightly better position. Look, we've got to play it smart here, and unfortunately, Lex, you're going to be the target here. You have the most armor and a pretty decent evasion. It's 5 dice, 3 plus. All right, one of those misses out. The other 4 are all hits. We're going to roll those hit location dice, and far out, this might not have been a good idea. Okay, chest, arms, head, and arms. We're going to go ahead and dodge this one here, and we'll take, what, 5 damage? Yeah, to each of those 3 locations. All right, bit of a survivor there. Still got a little bit more though. After damage, move the monster back 2 spaces without turning and the target suffers grab. So he's gonna land bang on Freya here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna have to move her right out. Now grab is a special effect outlined on the card for us. Place the target knocked down in front of the monster. The target suffers 1 damage per monster level. Okay. Let's find out where. 3 damage to the legs. Okay. Back into the survivor's activation and we will have everybody stand up. Let's count how many wounds we need to get to finish this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wounds and we are done here, people. That is a massive undertaking for us. Far out, that perfect slayer is just killing it. Okay, well, let's finish it, I guess, people. Now we've got to start with someone who can lose those battle pressure cards. So I'm gonna go with Freya. Now she's got how many? Well, she's only gonna have 1 movement at the beginning of this activation. So it's time, well, to spend all 6 of her remaining survival. And she's going to remove all of the tokens gained from Silent Hymn. This leaves her with 5 movement, and that's exactly what we need. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just gonna jump in up there next to the King's Man, and we're gonna attack with the Skullcap Hammer. 2 dice. This is gonna be a 2+, guys. I didn't even think before. Freya has 3 accuracy, which means she's gonna be nailing these hits. All right, let's roll. Well, we are lucky that she's so good at it. Just one of those hits is going to land, but I'll tell you what, it's enough to chew through those battle pressure cards. We get a Regal Plume. It's an impervious hit location and cannot be wounded, but we're still going to roll because there is a critical wound effect that we don't really want to achieve. Let's roll. Only a 6, thank goodness, so we failed to wound, but those battle pressure cards are still off. All right, it's time. We are going to surge with Lex, and then we're going to use that surge to consume the frenzy drink. We suffer the frenzy brain trauma, gaining 1d5 insanity, 3 points, gaining +1 speed and +1 strength, and losing the ability to spend any more survival. This is crazy. We're going to attack head on with the perfect slayer. This thing is usually 3 dice, and we're hitting on 5s. This thing is usually 3 dice, and we'd be hitting on 4s, but we have the death dice as well. 4 dice, guys and gals. Ooh la la. 4 dice, 4+. Let's do this. Terrible. We've got a 6, we've got a 9, a 2, and our death dice failed us on the 1. Only 2 hits there. We have the Regal Skirt and then the Halberd Spear. This is one of those first strike heavy gear locations. No heavy armor, so we're all good. And then we have the Regal Skirt, which has a reflex. We could roll for sharp, but we don't need to. We'll roll the dice now to make our wound attempt, and we only need a 2+. Yes, we make it with the 9. So we discard that location and 3 AI cards. This is going to work perfectly. We've only got 3 cards left, and they're the AI discard pile. If we can wound this location, we are so in the clear. Again, 2+, rolling to wound. Yeah, whoa! We get the critical here. Your attack tears the monster's embroidered regalia, leaving only tatters. The sight of their enemy in disarray emboldens the survivors, and each may spend 1 survival to gain 1 courage. Look, we may as well. Lucky, he's up to his 2nd last courage. And Null, well, he doesn't need to spend anything. That's a shame. None of the other guys can spend them. They're either frenzied or survivalless. But for the wound, we discard the remaining 3 AI cards. 1 wound left, and we have won this. We have 2 survivors left to activate, but we only want to finish this fight with 1. I can't believe this is going to work out. Guys and gals, Lucky up there in the distance, he is this close to becoming a king's man himself. And if he can land this final hit, he will be saving every other survivor from his interminable fate. He begins by spending all 4 points of survival. He too shakes off the effects of the silent hymn, gaining back all of his movement. And with 7 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's easily in the king's man's blind spot there. He takes aim with the oxidized lantern glaive, and we roll 2 dice, 3+, thank you, blind spot. 2 hits, a perfect hit. We'll draw the hit locations. Firstly, the regal breastplate, and secondly, the regal faceplate. Let's go the breastplate, guys and gals. No ill effects here. Firstly, we'll roll for sharp, and we get just 2 points of strength. We need a 5+ to win. Oh, lucky. Buddy, that is amazing. Ain't no one out there like Lucky, guys and gals. And he lands the final hit. The king's man would step back, passing straight through Lex here. But as he takes his final step, he stumbles in the ground next to the deceased monster. Oh, gross. Guys and gals, we are done. We move into the aftermath, and each of our survivors gains just 100 XP. Lex crosses her 2nd age milestone, and Freya crosses her last, filling the final box in the 100 XP track. We'll begin by rolling for Lex's 2nd age milestone, improved reflexes. A 5 and a 4. She gains +1 permanent strength, not that she needs it. And we bid Freya a somber farewell. She's not going anywhere, but she is retiring with a number of epic fights under her belt. I'm so glad we brought her with us. Finally, we gain the rewards, and we'll roll 1d10 and add 3 to the result. A 2. So we're going to go for a 5 here. Each survivor gains a random fighting art. We'll start with Freya. As she's retiring, she gains the Thrill Seeker. Whenever you gain survival during the showdown phase, gain 1 additional survival. And that will replace her extra sense fighting art. Next, we have Null. And he gains the Combo Master fighting art, which I'm going to go ahead and replace his leader with, actually. I know he's blinded and doesn't gain the effects of the Timeless Eye, but we've got 1 more Phoenix Showdown with us, and we could cure his blindness. Whew. Next, we've got Lex. And she too gets Combo Master. Brilliant. I didn't even shuffle that badly on purpose. That's brilliant. And for Lucky, we draw the Regal Gauntlet. No more fighting arts for Lucky. Your fingernails rapidly grow out, encasing your arm in a cocoon of bone. Your liquefied, heated flesh leaks from the joints of the hollow armor that replaces your arms. When a survivor completes the Regal armor set, they lose their humanity and become a king's man, Filled with a sense of urgent purpose, the survivor marches off into the darkness. The survivor can no longer be controlled by a player and discard their record sheet. They are dead. Farewell, Lucky, the voice of reason, wise hero of the lantern and one of our founding survivors. What a survivor. Now, there would be one other benefit if we had innovated nightmare training. However, that's not an innovation that we managed to pull off during our time here. So our remaining survivors head home and we go back to the settlement. All right, our 3 remaining survivors return home, having defended themselves from the King's Man for the final time. We gain 2 additional endeavors for the departure of Lucky, one of our original survivors, and we move on through updating the timeline. Guess what? We are now into Lantern Year 29. This is our final hunt before the final Nemesis encounter. Oh my god. All right, so we've got our random story settlement event thing. We have the Dark Dentist. A cloaked woman enters the settlement. All that can be seen beneath her hood is the sparkle of perfect teeth. She offers to improve the survivors if they are brave enough. Yeah, I don't know if I'm brave enough. Look, that +1 to strength would be cool, and if we were still using fist and tooth, gaining sharp would be end game material right there. I'm just going to put that off to the side and we'll have a look at what else we have coming through. We do actually have one other story event to go through, and that is a returning visit from our hooded knight. Now, currently no one has the Twilight Sword in our settlement. Unfortunately, Ender, son of Orin, descendant of, Bastion, they died when we forged a really cool sword. So, we have a mysterious agenda going on here. We roll the dice and we'll carry out whatever we've got going on here. 6. So the Hooded Knight insists on training the uncouth survivors in martial combat. Up to 2 survivors may spend 3 resources each to learn the mighty strike fighting art. Let's just have a quick look at that one. On a perfect hit, gain +2 strength until the end of the attack. That's pretty good. Can we put a pin in that for the sec? I want to see what we've got and what we sort of want to achieve. I want to have a look. So we'll just put that off to the side and we'll move through our timeline. So we update the death count. Lucky, we farewell one of the finest. And actually, speaking of Lucky, as he gained his final point of weapon proficiency, he unlocked, for a fleeting moment, the Spear Mastery. So this thing here, whenever a Spear Master hits a monster with a spear, they may spend 1 survival to gain the priority target token. If they made the hit from directly behind another survivor, that survivor gains the priority target token instead. Now, this is a pretty bizarre thing. I'm struggling to think of how to best use that, but the important thing here is that all of our survivors have gained the spear weapon specialization, which is by far the more useful one, for me at least. If you draw a trap card, roll that d10 and you have a 40% chance of discarding the trap. Now, Null also gained his weapon mastery for the shield. When a shield master is adjacent to a survivor that is targeted by a monster, they may swap spaces on the board with the survivor and become the target instead. The master must have a shield to perform this. Again, don't know how I would use that yet. However, this shield specialization goes out to everybody. While a shield is in your gear grid, you are no longer knocked down after collision with a monster. And while a shield is in your gear grid, add +1 armor to all hit locations. Ha! So good. And you know what? That makes me want to get another shield. I have it on very good authority that we should be heading back to the blacksmith to score the beacon shield. Now that will cost us 2 iron, 3 leather, both of which we have, do we? Yes, we do. We are down to 4 leather in resource storage. And that would be our final 2 pieces of iron. But guys and gals, we now have one of the best shields in the game. Let's go take a look. For starters, this one adds +2 armor to all hit locations. Oh yeah, but it gives us the block ability for 2 hits. We may spend our activation to ignore 2 hits the next time you're attacked, and this lasts until your next act. So it's pretty dang cool, but it only gets better when we take it for oxidation. Fingers crossed we have everything we need for that at the end of the next hunt. Currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 endeavors to play around with. Not exactly sure how we're going to go about this just yet. Give me 2 seconds. Let me figure out what we're going to need over these final lantern years. All right, so by the looks of things, to put the beacon shield through the oxidation process, we're actually going to need 2 more iron. Uh-oh. Luckily for us, we have a couple of scrap floating around as cards, and in our resource storage, we've currently got 5 pieces, which means if we take those 5 broken lanterns from resource storage and 1 of our cards over to the scrap smelting innovation, we can go through the purification here, and it will cost us either 1 or 2 endeavors, but we will have both of those iron. So let's start there in preparation. We're going to roll a dice. Who's going to do this? Let's send Lex over. Boom. 6. Perfect. We spend 3 scrap and add 1 iron to storage. We'll send her over again. 1 more. Yeah. So we turn those 6 scrap into usable iron. That leaves us with this 1 scrap card, and I was kind of hoping we might as well grab the scrap shield at some stage. I don't know if it's actually that good though. But worst case scenario, we do have an unused lantern tube which has the scrap resource on it, and a broken lantern. If we really want it that badly, we can go get it later. Now, I'm not too interested in having any more survivors. We have more than enough, I think. Oh, it's only just occurred to me that I didn't show off the resources that we're cashing in to actually make the beacon shield in the first place. We had 2 questionable resources here, a monster bone, and I felt kind of dirty about this, but we're going to get rid of the elder cat teeth. Yeah, I know it can create another one of those cat fang dagger things, but I'm probably not going to use it. It'd be nice to have dual ones anyway, but for the moment, we can go hunt another white lion should we ever need to. So they were the bones that we used to craft this thing. Anyway, I'm really struggling to figure out what we should do. I'm not too interested in the next level of lantern research. It would give us additional 1d10 strength. Actually, I don't know what sort of strength we're coming up against with the Gold Smoke Knight. I mean, he's likely going to be stronger than the King's Man. I haven't actually looked at this. Alright, let's research. Let's spend 2 of these to pulse discoveries. Now, what do we need to make this work? 2 bone, 2 hide, and 2 organs. I think we can put that together, sort of. Alright, these are pretty rare resources, but with the Phoenix coming up, I'm sure we're going to be grabbing another Phoenix Crest. So we've got the Phoenix Crest, the pustules for our organs, we've got the 2 pelts for the hides, and we've got some hollow wing bones and the legendary horns over here. Another massive find for us, but yeah, I think that's what it's going to have to take because we don't have many bones. So with that, we unlock the 3rd level of Lantern Research, which is displayed on the Horripilation card here. Level 3 is add plus 1d10 strength to a wound attempt. Very, very useful indeed. All right, that's those 2 gone. We have just 1 more. Let's head to the shrine. Who's going to do this? Null. Good work. Oh, no. Plus 1 insanity to all departing survivors. That's probably exactly what we wanted there too. All right. With that done, guys and gals, we are out of there. We finish at the development stage and we move into preparing our departing survivors. We have another level 3 Phoenix to take down, and I'm sure we're going to make light work of him with that perfect Slayer. Rest up, guys and gals. I'll see you for the next one. Wow! That is an amazing weapon. It took a fight that could have drowned on and likely been the death of us, and really turned the favor. I might go so far as to say that sword is so OP. And of course it would be. You have to roll a 1 in 100 chance on the hunt events. You've got to roll a 1 in 100 again, getting the key, going through the gate, and then you've got to spend up to 10 of your hard-earned, hard-won survivors, a bunch of resources, and then, you've got to overcome the movement. I don't know. This thing is ridiculously OP, but we got very lucky to get where we are. So just as long as we know that. Now, of course, speaking of lucky, he did good today. We kept all of our King's Man encounters on him. He landed the final blow on each of them, this time with his oxidized lantern glaive, and that weapon is brilliant, combining the effects of the spear and the axe as well. It's going to be so powerful from here on out. Hopefully another survivor remembered to pick it up as he left, but that's alright. Now, in hindsight, I prattled on a little bit about 1 or 2 rules, but I just wanted to make it clear why I was making the decisions that I was in regards to those rulings. Of course, if you're not a fan, make sure you mention in the comments below. But other than that, we are almost done with this whole first campaign. Yeah! Next episode, we of course are going to hunt that level 3 Phoenix, and we're going to bring that perfect Slayer along, so it's a little bit more in our favor. But then, big stuff. The very final encounter of the 1.5 campaign. We have the Gold Smoke Night coming up. I'm so excited. I've actually got to piece the miniatures as well, so we might find a way to sort of film a little chat with that. I don't know. I've not filmed miniatures building ever, so whatever. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm sorry, but it will be built in time for that episode for sure. So yeah, we're about done here, guys. If you've enjoyed the show today, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that you guys can do to help this channel grow. I love you for it, of course. Yeah, other than that though, we are done. So my name is Michael. This is Bits Aboard. We'll catch you next time.